Hey, what's up guys? So you can see we have lesson 2, which is now whatever we did in the previous video is there, and we were done with our validators as well as setting up our user model. So now in this video we are going to create our first registration. So let's go ahead and do that. So inside the users, I'm gonna create a router instance, and it will be a type of a post, and in that it will be API/register. Okay, so it will be an asynchronous function, and it will take a request as well as response object. And since we are going to register the user, so we will be needing our user model first of all. So let us bring in that from our models directory, and from the models we are going to bring in our user. So we can see that user model that we exported by default from index.js file, it is automatically picked up. And now we are going to import a couple of other things. So we are going to register our user, so we will be needing our validators. So let's go ahead and do that. So from our to up, we'll go to the validators, and simply we will bring in our register validations. Okay, and one quick typo which I just noticed while watching my video. So here, authenticate validations. So we are naming it this thing. And also one more thing inside the models. So wherever we define this pre-hook, here we are taking this name as a parameter, which argument which we don't want. Actually we are using instead next. So we'll make the use of that next. So this is quick change, and so this is kind of mistake from my side. And also this not is not required, only length is required, that's fine. And that's it for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and start creating our user. So first of all, we will implement this registration validation middleware. So let me paste that. Let me quickly paste it over here. So we can pass this registration middleware over here, and this function will automatically inject these middleware inside this request object. So the way we can access it inside our route is by simply saying we have to import something else. So from our express validator package, we need to bring in our validation result function, and this will give us a validation result. So let me show you how it works. So let errors equal to validation result, and inside that we will pass our request object. So whatever the validations are failing inside that will be added inside our request object that we have passed over here, and from that we can get that error. So let me show you. So from here I'm going to return res.json, and let me simply pass our errors. Errors.to array function, actually array function, simply array function. So if I go ahead and we go to our terminal, our app is not breaking. That means everything is working fine for now. Let me quickly close, don't save it. I also don't want to save this thing too. Close it. Okay, so I'm gonna open a new tab, and it will be a post request. So for now we have a post request, and it should go to the users/API register. So our host is on localhost 5000. I think we can make the use of this register. Okay, so if I go to the form data, actually we'll go to the raw, and inside we'll choose for the JSON format. And if we don't pass anything here, if I send this thing now, we can get this errors over here, right? So we are getting this thing here. So since we didn't pass anything here, its validations are working very fine in here. So let me pass our username, Nandi Mandy 1 for now, and let's send that. So now you can see that username error is gone from this. In the same way, if I pass name, let's say hello, so currently we have this name field error, but if I send that, now name field is gone. So in this way, this registration validation works. But now what happens if we will have to write this function again and again for our login, also for all that. So for that, what I'm going to do, inside our middleware, I'm going to create a new file called validator middleware.js, and inside that, instead of bringing this here from the express validator, we can cut this out and paste it over here. So I'm gonna teach you how we can create your custom middlewares. And now from here, this whole function will cut that and export default validation middleware, and this is the constant which we haven't created yet. So we'll simply say const validation middleware equal to, this will take three things: request, response, and next variable. So make sure you use this next variable. And now we can check this condition, whatever the condition we had. So we will check that, and now we will send this response only if this errors dot is empty function. So if this is not empty, that means it has our errors inside that. In that case, we want to return this response. Otherwise, we'll move to the next. So this next is the callback that we have to reach. So always remember, there's a thumb rule to create any custom kind of middleware. So what happens behind the scene is simply, let's say custom middleware, and just define your functions, just like I'm saying custom middleware. And always remember, it should take request, whatever the request is coming, and also the response object, which will be provided by the express, and there's a next callback function. And in that, you can put your conditions on your request and give that response back. And if you want to move to the next, you can directly call that. So this is a custom middleware kind of thing. So I am stopping this request and here, and just gonna export default from there. So let's go ahead and import it. Import validator from, and I can name anything if I am exporting default from there. So, and I can change that over here. So whatever the request and response is returned from here will then pass to this function, this middleware over here. So in this way, we can change them one by one, and here you can pass validator. So this is our middleware. So now if I go ahead and make the same request again, we'll get that middleware still working there. So now let's go ahead and create our username, actually account. So for now, we'll simply write, first of all, we'll put a check. So we'll import, we'll pull in from request.body, because all the data is inside the request.body if we have applied the JSON format of the body parser middleware properly. So if we'll bring in our username and email and the password. That password is not required. Okay. So now here what we're gonna do. Firstly, check if the username is taken or not. So the way we can do that is simply saying let user equal to, now we are going to use user model that we brought in, and we'll put that query find one, and in here you will check for username equal to the username that we have over here. And since we are using ES6, we can, and if the name and the value has the same thing, then we can get rid of the first one. And since it is gonna take query our database, so it's gonna take some time, so we have to await for the response from the database or the database to finish this query. Now if there is a user, that means the user is there with that username, so we have to return that response back. So return res.json with a status of 400, and we'll put our message username is already taken. So we are going to say that we are not allowing you to create our account, and there's a flag variable which I called success, and it will be false. So you can easily cast that on the front end from the data.response. Whatever you feel like, from that you can get that. Now if this check passes, then we are going to look at if that email is registered or not. So if the user exists with that email, and in that case we'll again query this thing, but not will use that same user, because this will be automatically null if this check is passed. And now here we'll pass our email, simple, and we'll simply say email is already registered. Did you forget the password? Try resetting it. So this is something. Now we have already successfully passed our checks. So now it's time to go ahead and create our new user. And the way we can do that is by simply creating a new user instance, and we can reuse the same variable because this will be automatically null if that email is not found. So we can simply say user equal to new user, and inside that we'll spread our user object, our request.body. So let's say, for example, body has a username field inside that, so we'll spread it as a value inside this thing. And also we need something called verification link. So here we have verification code, actually not link, and to generate this thing we can simply use that that random function that we just created here, that we just use here. So we can simply copy this part and go here, paste that, and now we need to bring in that random bytes. So import from crypto library, we'll bring on our random bytes function and we'll generate that. And once we are done with that, user.save function, we'll call that user.save function. So now we are saving that user, so we need to await for that, and that's why I made this function asynchronous over here. You can see that. And by doing this thing, we'll get a new user object, and that object will be stored inside a result. So let result equal to, actually we don't need this thing. And now we have to send the email to the user with a verification link. Okay, so for that, now we need to install a package called SendGrid. And from the documentation, if I go here, let's do it together. SendGrid documentation, and in here we'll go to this SendGrid Node.js, actually SendGrid with Node.js integration, or even you can look in here with this. There we had something called inside this setup guide. You can directly get in here with the setup guide. You can create an authentication status, create a sender's identity, and you can set a lot of things here. So inside the setup guide, okay, here you can go to this quick documentation. So it's very simple, just create one mail set full access. I guess in my API, where is that API keys? I'm using this one, edit key, and schedule sends I gave complete access and just updated that. Now here just create that API secret key, and in here just simply create a simple project, and firstly we need to install this package. So @sendgrid mail, so we will install that, npm install @sendgrid mail. Okay, and now here we can directly import that SendGrid. So import sgmail from SendGrid mail. Okay, and now we have to pull in our API key over here. So why not to we have to do like twice this thing. So one for reset link, the other one for the password links. Why not to merge these two tasks together? And actually third one also for our sending some kind of confirmation to the email with that your password has changed. So why not to do that inside a function? So let's go ahead, create that email sender.js file, and inside that I'll cut this whole function from here, save that, paste it over here, and now I'll import our SendGrid API key from our constant SendGrid API key, and now we'll simply say sgmail dot set API key, and we'll pass that SendGrid API. So this will create a SendGrid mail instance, and now we'll simply say export const, actually let's make it const send mail function. I'm gonna create that send mail function, and this will take email, and let's go ahead and create another third constant that's called app host email, and I'm using mine. You can use yours, gmail.com. So we'll pull in that too, app host email. You can put any kind of email over here, and instead the constants we can get that, and now I'll pull in over here too, and this will have something inside that, and now whatever we have will wrap inside that catch, try and catch block. So this is a function, and now if you go to the documentation over here, so it creates a constant message. So let me copy that, paste it, and now here we are going to send the email to wherever it is going to be sent email, and from will be the host. So our host here is app host email, and then we will pass in our these reusable components. So let's say subject, and also the text, and also the HTML part. So these HTML and those things we'll define later there, but for now we can get rid of these fields. And once we are done with that, we'll simply sgmail.send message. We'll call this function. And in case of any error, we'll simply say console.log error mailing, and we'll put that error.message. and finally we'll return back. So this is kind of asynchronous task too, so we'll define that because sending mail can take some time, so we'll await for that, and once we are done we'll do that. And let's mail sent, and this will be the other callback. So now we can use this function over there, and we have to export this thing. So export default send mail, and let me restructure this properly. Okay, so to email, and this is taking email, text and subject, so we can define them. So in order to use this function inside our user.js, just after registration we need to bring in that. So import send mail from function slash email sender. We created an email sender instance function, and now we'll send that. Send mail, and inside that mail we'll pass our these two parameters. So let me quickly close this one and open this file in the site so that we can keep the track whatever was opened. Okay, so let me shrink it a bit so that you can see, or let me increase that. So it was taking email, so that we are having inside this user object. So user.email, will pass that email, then the text will be, subject will be verify account, the third one will be our text, please verify your account. Okay, and the fourth one will be our HTML. So HTML markup will be very simple, not too fancy inside that. And let me close that up. Let HTML equal to we'll simply say HTML, will pass that, and in that we'll give a normal HTML markup. So h1 hello, and in the right we'll inject our username. So we'll simply say user.username. Okay, and we'll simply say normal verification link will be, simply say /p, please click the following link to verify your account, and at last we'll give a button, actually kind of a link, in which href will be our users / verify now, and after that we'll pass our password verification code, user verification code, this thing whatever we have just generated. Oops. So which is also stored in user.verification code, and we'll give a text of called verify now. So this is the email that we want to send back, and once we are done doing that, return res.json with the status of 201 of resource create, and then we will have a message called hooray, your account is created, please verify your email address. Success flag will set to true, Okay, so this is a whole complete process. Let me shrink a bit and show it in one glance. So firstly, we are receiving username and email. Then we are finding user by the username. If there is a user, then we are returning back, and by simply saying username is already taken. But if there is an email, if this whole condition fails, then we are checking with the email, and if there is a user found with the email, then we are returning back with this email ID is already registered, please try resetting it. Then once both the conditions passes, then we have a new user created and also generated a verification code with this thing, and then we are saving that user inside the database. And once we are done saving that, we are creating a HTML markup, and we have created a send mail function. Inside that, we are passing that user email as well as verification account as a subject, and with a text this thing HTML. I think, let me see if I didn't miss anything. So we have a text, email, subject, text, and HTML. So email, subject, text, and HTML. So that's how we do that. And let me cut this out from here, whole thing. Now we'll wrap it inside try and catch error, and inside that try block we'll paste that whole code, and in case of any error, return res.json with the status of 500, let's say internal error, and we'll put that message and error occurred. And with a success flag false, and that's it. So hopefully this is gonna work. Let's try that out. API register, let me send that. We still get those validations are working well. Then we have a email field moreanorain09@gmail.com, and let's me say password. I'm gonna use super secret password, that's 12345678990, and let's send that, creating that account. Hooray, your account is created. Let's check our console. Email bad request, so email is not sent. So let me check that, why it is happening. Bad request, I think there's some issue. App host email is pulled in. Host email, let me name that host email. Simply go to my email sender. We are pulling it from the constants. I think this was working for me. Let me check that. Let's send that again. Username is already taken, so let me change that username, or let me put that back. Instead, what I'm gonna do, get rid of the database. So docker exec -it mongo, use mongo image, mongo container with mongo image, and show dbs. We have this database over there. Use auth app tutorial, show collections, db.users.find.pretty. We do have everything created, so db.drop database function, and we no longer have the database. So I think what went wrong, what could be wrong? I think some API issues is there. Edit API key, email testing. Okay, security, we don't want that for now. Stats, sender authentication is required. Why is this not working? Okay, let me go ahead and get rid of everything. We don't want this. Sender authentication, we don't want that. We just want this. And let's go ahead and check that. Test it again. Hooray, your account is created. Email being bad request. Okay. Why are we getting that bad request? And we do have to await this. That's one thing. HTML, we have that HTML. Please verify your account. Host email is sent from this. Okay, marianorain09@gmail.com. That's fine. Email subject HTML const message. Let's put console log statement MSG, and let's drop the database again. So we have dropped in, sent. We are created with our account, but still we are getting our mailing request from undefined. Okay, so this is because send host email is there from the process.env and from the app host. Okay, I get that. So let's again drop the database, and now this time it should work. Now this is created, and I think hopefully mail sent. Yes, so the mail is sent, and let me go to the Gmail account. So gmail.com, we get this verify, and we get this link, and you can see there's a very weird kind of thing is going on. So here what I want to have, instead of this normal, actually here I just click this users verify now. Instead of that, I want my domain to get in there. And since we have already pulled in our domain inside our constant, so now we can make the use of that. So inside our users, let me bring in our domain from constants. Domain, and we will inject that domain here too. So dollar domain, and since it already has a slash, so we can get that thing only. So let me get rid of this user again. And send that request, and now this is sent. We'll go back and we can click. So here we have a verify now. Please click the link follow, and you just have to be like using secure network, but now for now it's working. And this, if I click on this, this goes to the localhost 5000 user slash this thing. So now we are going to create this URL route inside our app, so that where we can verify our user. So let me create the headers, paste that, verify now, and this will take verification code as a parameter here, and this will be public only, and this will be of type get, public only via email, and we'll simply say router.get. here verify now, and then we have a verification code as a parameter. Then we have a asynchronous request and response. So we have this thing, and now inside our functions main root application, I'm gonna quickly create a template folder. So let me quickly go ahead and create that in a folder called templates, a new file inside that called verification success.html. I'm gonna put a basic bootstrap markup in here, so we can simply go to the getbootstrap.com, and I'm gonna quickly copy this link only at the top and give a specific markup, auth app verification successful. Gonna paste my link so that, and I'm gonna give a container. Inside that row, within that row we have a call of md6 dot call of sm12, within that dot card, within that dot card body, and in that card body, okay, we have a div. We'll also give it a class of mx auto, so it will be center. A lot of guys, you know about this thing, but I just wanted to put this thing. So your account is now verified. So that's it. This is just a simple, very basic step. And now if I go to the users here, firstly I'm gonna wrap inside try and catch block, and also I'm gonna quickly copy this part, I'm gonna paste inside that and gonna rename this thing errors.html, and here I'm simply gonna write an error occurred. Okay, so I'm gonna simply name this thing error occurred, and I am gonna, in case of error, we will send that file import, and from path we'll bring in join, and we'll simply return res.send file function, and from using join, from the current dir name we'll go 2 up, actually 1 up, and in templates we'll go to the errors.html. so we are simply going to send that file in case of any error that happens. And in case of this thing, we will verify this email with this help of verification code that we are getting inside this params. So we'll simply say request.params. Okay, and we'll verify the user now here with the help of, so firstly we are gonna find that user, so let user equal to await user.find 1, and we'll find that by verification code. If user not found with that verification code, so we'll return res.json with a status of 401, which is unauthorized because somebody just tried to access with anything here and that we didn't have inside our database. Unauthorized access, invalid verification code. Will be success. We'll put success flag false. But if that user is found, we are simply gonna verify that user. So we'll simply say user dot verified will set to true, and user dot verification code equal to undefined. So this will be undefined, and then user dot save, and we'll await that. And then we are going to send our successful file that we have created. So verification success. So we'll send that file. So let's go ahead and check that out. If it works, our server is not breaking, and we do have that verification link. So let me close that and click that now. So an error is occurred. So let's go ahead and catch that error. So console.log let me click that again, and now this time we would have caught that error. So find one must be an object, and yes, it is my mistake. So now if I go ahead and click that, your account is now verified. So we are getting this successful response. And now if I go ahead and check inside the database, so db.users.find.pretty, and yes, you can see that verified status is not true. By default it was set to false. So that's how you can verify the email registration. And now let's quickly go ahead and finally complete up our authentication and issue our token. Oops, let me copy that, paste it to, and this will be now to verify a new user's account via email. Okay, so to authenticate an user and get auth token, and that function we have already created. So this will be through API. So I'm gonna write that API authenticate, this is public, access is post, router dot get, actually post, API slash authenticate, and this will take middleware, and then asynchronous callback function. And first will be our authenticate validations that we defined inside our this validators. Then again we have to bind our validator middleware that we just created, and this will take request and response. And let me wrap everything inside try and catch block. And in this case I want to send the same response that we have. Let me copy that, paste it, and error occurred. Let username and password that we are going to extract from request.body field. Let user equal to user, actually await user.find, and let's check that if we did the same thing with the await, and yes, with that find one, and this will be a query. So inside that we have a username, okay, and if there is a user, if there is not a user, that means return res.json with a status of 404, and in that we have a message called username not found, okay, with a success flag of false. Okay, so here we are finding that username by the past username, and if that username is found, we are simply gonna return that user. But if that user is found, now we will simply use this function that we created in the previous video to compare the password. So let's go ahead and do that. So await, if await user dot compare password method, and in this we'll pass our password. So if this is true, if this is not true, then we are again return that response to the user saying incorrect password, and status will be 401, that is unauthenticated still. But if both the checks are now passed and we found our user is also there, and also our password is also there, then we want to generate the token. So let's go ahead and do that. And the way we can do that by simply saying let token equal to await user dot, and we'll make the use of this function that we created, generate JWT. So let me copy that and paste it, and once we are done with that, let me copy return response with the status of true, and this will be 200, which is accepted, and we'll pass a message called hooray, you are now logged in. Token, we'll pass that token to, and we'll append bearer, and then we'll pass that token object, and the user is equal to user dot get user info function that also we created. So it is inside this hook get user info, it will send these fields, and also I want to add one more field that's called verified. So we are passing these fields, and let's test this out. So I'm gonna go to authenticate function, and let me get rid of this email field, name field. Let me cut this for now and send that, and we are getting our validations are working fine. Let's cut our username field now, and let's send that. Now username is also required, so our validations are working fine. But if I try to send this authentication, now you will find that user is also there and the token is also now accessible. So this is our login part complete, and that's it for this video. That was a lot of work, guys. So congratulate yourself, we did a lot of things, we sent the user emails and a lot of things we configured. Hope you guys enjoy this video. In the next video we'll start looking up with the password reset and user route protection. So thank you guys for your support. Just keep on subscribing, keep the spirit up. Let's keep on coding and start learning a lot in 2021. Thank you guys.